Okay, Friday, 16th of May, 2025. So Adrian's daily vlog, sharing smarter stuff men should know. 3 or 4 ways of looking and understanding Bitcoin. Different lenses and ways to understand Bitcoin. So it's interesting little observation that I've seen some people how they misunderstand it and view it through different lenses in ways that are inadequate, let's say. So a lot of people view it as a stock, first and foremost, a stock, as a trade, as a play to get more dollars or pounds or fiat. And they analyze it through the lens of cash flow, balance sheets, etc., and company, dividends, etc. And a better way to think about it is to view it as a commodity, an asset without an issuer, a fungible piece of property that they're all the same. That's an interesting conversation, but that's way off topic. But that's a better way of looking at it. An asset without an issuer. Well, who issued gold and silver? Or you could say in a very ephemeral way it was God. But you can't put God on a balance sheet. You can't really put that. You can't. I don't know. That's another conversation. But still, an asset without an issuer. Meaning there's no central point of attack or failure, no one person that can be arrested, no single point of failure. So this thing over here happens, and suddenly the network doesn't work, or that person over there is arrested, and the whole thing comes crashing down. Because understand that Bitcoin is fundamentally maths, physics, and computer science. And because there's an interesting crypto trilemma of security, scalability, and centralization, understand that Bitcoin is built to maximize security and decentralization. So really you could flip the whole script and view it as a commodity and say, well, Bitcoin doesn't have a legal risk, a CEO risk, a cash flow risk, a balance sheet risk. Hasn't got those risks, those things. I did a video about this as well, actually. Understand that risk and volatility in Bitcoin are two different things. Bitcoin has fewer risks, these exposures, these things, a risk of legal repercussions, risk of tariffs, things like that, risk of arrest, risk of logistics or supply chain breakdown, things like that, or sales not being good this quarter, things like that. So stock to a commodity. A commodity then, a better way to look at it would be to look at it see it as it just slipped my mind, hold on. To see it as revolution in money, that's it. Revolution in money. In a sense of using it as the new denominator. Pricing and valuing things in Bitcoin as opposed to dollars or pounds. Because the underlying first principle there is that asset, that way of measuring things can be printed, can be created. There's a nice mantra in the space. Why work for money that someone else can print freely? Print without repercussions almost, i.e. quantitative easing or fractional reserve lending, things like that can be printed from thin air. Interesting. Why spend your time being the interesting variable there, why spend your time working for something that can be created from thin air? Because of the system, the status quo. And that's the interesting thing, time. If you're storing your time in a money, pound, dollars, euros, that can be printed, that means your time is being eroded away. You have to work harder and harder just to stay in the same place in terms of purchasing power. And that's interestingly, that's what's called Red Queen syndrome. I remember hearing about it being talked about. Years ago on Kaiser Report. Very interesting. Red Queen syndrome. You're working harder and harder, running faster and faster, like on a treadmill, but just to stay in the same place, as opposed to making progress. So when you change the denominator, you start pricing things in Bitcoin as opposed to pounds or dollars and euros in a fixed supply, in a money that has a fixed supply that can't be printed at will, in a money that money you can own, money you can spend, fixed supply, apolitical, that's important. That goes back to what I said earlier, in a way, as in the risk factors, apolitical, decentralized, censorship resistant, i.e. can't be tariffed. You can't cancel these transactions and things moving around, as in you're purchasing. I want to buy that, but no one's going to stop you. That's powerful. So when you see it as that, it's even smarter way of looking at it, more accurate, more in sync with reality, because you can't escape first principles. I did a video about this, and as you understand the first principles of Bitcoin, you realize that this, as a money, is 10x better than what we have already. It's very powerful, very, very powerful. And when you also look at it that way, you realize then it's a hedge against entropy, because you can also say that it's a hedge against inflation, and then you can say it's a hedge against debasement, as in money printing, but then you go one step further and realize it's a hedge against entropy, because it's thermodynamically sound money. Now what does that mean? Very fancy. It means that it can't be eroded away. We see entropy, basically. We see real estate, and it costs X amount of, percentage per year to maintain it, in terms of taxes or maintenance in general. But with this, you don't need it. There is no maintenance fee. There is no risk of tenants messing things up, or there is no bucket that's leaking away. There is no need to store the coins somewhere so they don't rust, for example, or the paper somewhere so it doesn't decay, things like that, or rats eat away at it, things like that, or it gets printed. If the inflation rate or the money printing is, nice train there, is 7% a year, then that's the hurdle rate. If you're not beating 7% on the investment, whatever it is, then you're mathematically being stagnant or going back. That's interesting. I did a video about this months ago, a year or something ago now. Earning a strong currency, saving Bitcoin, spending a weak currency. Yeah, exactly. A nice little arbitrage play right there. But that's the key thing as well. When you see it as a revolutionary money, it's a hedge against entropy. But we can go one step further. And another way of looking at it, to go even deeper, is to see it as freedom tool. To go beyond the fiat price, the price of Bitcoin in pounds and dollars becomes irrelevant, because you're not investing, you're divesting. You're not investing in Bitcoin to get more pounds and dollars back, but you're divesting away from pounds and dollars and euros into a better form of money to hold and store your life, your time. You spend 10 hours working, so store that in an asset that can store and save that money, save that time, i.e. thermodynamically sound, therefore you're saving for the future. It's better. It's a stronger bucket with no leaking, basically. That's an interesting way of putting it. And then it's a freedom tool, meaning because of the first principles, you benefit from those things. Money you can earn, money you can spend, fixed supply, apolitical, censorship resistance, and other one as well. I'm trying to remember now. But yeah, that. You're benefiting from those first principles of Bitcoin, and the price becomes immaterial. Pump, dump, bear market, dip, irrelevant. Irrelevant because you're storing your money, your life, your time in this thing, and you're benefiting from the first principles of it as a technology, as a freedom tool. And then you can you could argue it's a question of legal tender, or how to transact with as few taxes as possible, going from Bitcoin that you bought a month ago, anytime really, into fiat, or from Bitcoin into, Bitcoin to turn that Bitcoin into bread, to food. And there's some clever ways of doing it with lending, whatever else, or as a legal tender, which I think that's going to be more and more popular in the next, another train here, 10 or so years. I imagine 15, 30 at the most, but 10, 15 at a comfortable time period. But that's the next way to look at it, as a freedom tool. Then the price becomes irrelevant. You're just buying it to store your time that you spent working, and then you're getting your wages, you're the fiat mines, mining fiat, and then you turn it into Bitcoin as to save and store your time. That's the next way to view it. That's powerful. And it's that meme really, that brain, where each level of that the brain, the light from it, the understanding, the enlightenment gets stronger. It gets stronger and stronger. It's that stock to a commodity, to a revolution in money, to a freedom tool. And that's by definition, it's self-custody. And that is the next, that's the way to see it. Because you're getting closer and closer to the first principles of it and understanding the first principles at a deeper level to benefit from them. That's powerful. And then you could even go one step further to say, well, that's basically a Bitcoin standard, really. And by being on a Bitcoin standard, you're with one, in a very poetic way, with Bitcoin. And you're building things on top of Bitcoin to benefit from the technology as a first principle, but also using it. As Bitcoin becomes the new benchmark and the standard, it's the rocket ship, and the rocket ship is doing 1 million miles an hour. 1 million miles an hour, and you're building on top of it, and you're doing 100,000 miles an hour, let's just say, pick a number, combined together, 1.1 million miles per hour. You're going even faster. You're beating Bitcoin by definition, but you're introducing risk in a sense of the business, legal risk, supply chain risk, etc., but you're building on top of it as a native, at a native level. It's like companies today who start off using the internet and don't even bother with having a brick and mortar physical location. It's akin to that. There'll be businesses and people born today who are Bitcoin natives, just how we are internet natives. They will be Bitcoin natives, and Bitcoin is all they will ever know. And they'll be building on top of it by default. They'll be integrating it in ways in their business from day one. And I did a video about this as well, 24th of November, where I talked about this exact concept, when I was in Elzonte, of all places. I remember saying that Apple, when they allow Bitcoin wallets, when Apple starts having Bitcoin with the reserve, their own reserve, they'll have their own a Bitcoin wallet native to the iPhone, and they'll probably skim off some fees right there. Things like that. It'll be clever businesses. All kinds of business models will emerge because of this, built on top of Bitcoin as they utilize a Bitcoin standard. Wow. And that, I guess, will be a freedom tool to the nth degree, especially if it's native Bitcoin. No third-party stuff. If it's all native Bitcoin, then wow, that'll be revolutionary, to say the least. It'd be a complete different world compared to today. And that's at most 15 years away. 30 at a really, really slow, casual pace, but 15 years at a slow rate. But yes, that's the interesting way to look at Bitcoin. Stock, commodity, revolution tool, and a revolution in money, and freedom tool. Yes, very interesting. But otherwise, Adrian's daily vlog, sharing smart stuff men should know. Subscribe for more, and you will see me tomorrow.